Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. I'm Sophia, your host. The man who built an ark to save himself and others from a great flood has always been revered by Muslims, Christians, and Jews. The Prophet Noah is getting renewed attention these days with the release of an American biblical epic film about him. So, who is Noah? What is his story? Does the movie portray him accurately? I'm joined by Dr. Shabir Ally, president of the Islamic Information Center, to discuss why the movie has been getting so much attention from religious groups. Dr. Shabir Ally, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Pleasure to be on.
Now, it's fascinating that religion continues to receive attention. People are still making movies about biblical figures.
Yes, of course. The Ten Commandments starring Charlton Heston has been like a perennial masterpiece. It gets aired every year around Christmas time on TV. People are interested in the stories of the great prophets. They are interested in creation, in God's dealing with human beings throughout history. They're interested in Abraham and Noah and Moses. And it is only natural that movies would be made about these great figures as well.
Mm-hmm. So this new movie, Noah, has just come out, and I thought it would be interesting for us to talk about who Noah actually is and what he's about. He's obviously recognized by Muslims, Christians, and Jews. So tell me, to begin with, we know that Noah is known for the ark, so what else is there about Noah?
Yes, it is important that we know what the actual scriptural teachings about Noah are before one goes to see the movie, because what happens often in Hollywood projections is that the story is distorted, given new twists to make it either more dramatic or to give it a kind of a modern flair. Mm-hmm. And one needs to know what the original story is. Otherwise, many believers, Jews, Christians, and Muslims, seeing a movie like that could come out confused as to what exactly we ought to believe about a person like Noah.
It's easy to think that the movie is actually accurate because it's so vivid and it seems so real.
Yes, and people will come out saying, "Oh, it's so real that really happened,"
Yeah.
but in fact that could be far from true. So, in short, what is the Quranic image of Noah? Noah was a prophet of God. He, according to Islamic tradition, is about 10 generations from Adam. He preached to his people for many years, but people did not rally to his call except for a few of them. Many chose idol worship instead, and they threatened the very life of Noah if he would not stop his preaching.
It seems that some people thought he was possessed by a devil.
This is a common kind of retort. Something is wrong with you, you're mad, you are demon possessed, we can't really listen to you. So then what is Noah's response? In the Quran it shows that eventually he prays to God, saying that it's obvious that the people are set in their ways, they're not going to believe, and they're channeling their children along the same way as well. So there seems to be no hope for these people, so destroy them.
So was he hopeless at this point?
Well, it would seem not so much hopeless in the sense of despairing, but in the sense of recognizing the reality. Sometimes we need to recognize that reality, in that we often convey the message of God with the hope that people will rally to the call and believe. And this is a good hope to maintain, and we should never lose that hope in our present circumstances. But Noah is not like the rest of us. He is inspired by God. He is receiving God's messages. And he must have known, either from his own observation of the situation or by a direct revelation from God to him, or both, that now the situation has reached an impasse. The people are not going to believe, and their children are going to be channeled into disbelief as well. So it looks like something dramatic has to happen here, and Noah then prays for that dramatic outcome.
So he prayed for God's intervention then?
That's right, yes. And then the Quranic story is that God inspired him to build an ark and then to take 2 of every animal onto the ark. We should not imagine that this means 2 of every single animal imaginable, but we should think of...
That would be a pretty big ark.
Exactly. And then if you think about how they would sustain themselves, how they would continue to live, the kind of food supply that would have to be there. And then some animals feed off each other. So you'd have to have, like, if you want some surviving animals, you have to have so many in the food chain so that in the end you still have a resulting few animals that you wanted to preserve. So it was not like that at all, but sometimes when in language we use the term all or everything, we mean everything for the situation. It's like you're going out for a trip and one family member turns to the other one and says, do we have everything? And the answer is yes. Well, it doesn't mean we also have the kitchen sink. It means we have everything that we need for the trip. And so, too, in the case of Noah, is he used to take 2 of every animal that is needed for whatever is the grand plan, that after the ark will settle down, they will have animals that are good for food and so they can replenish.
Mm-hmm. So which human beings were on the ark?
In the Quranic perspective, it's the believers that are saved along with Noah. I know that in the Bible it is mentioned that Noah's family is saved and only his family, but the Quran does not draw the distinction this way, because in fact in the Quranic depiction we have the wife of Noah and his son who did not believe along with him, and so they were left with the people who were eventually drowned. It is even said that the son said, I will betake myself to a high mountain and the flood won't reach me there, but of course he was eventually engulfed in the deluge as well. So in the Quranic perspective, there is Noah and some of his family members, but also non-family members, the distinction being drawn not between family and non-family, but between believers and non-believers. The believers being saved, the non-believers being drowned.
So how big was this flood?
In the Quranic depiction, there is no reason for thinking that it's a universal flood, because the whole situation is that Noah comes, preaches to the people, they reject his message, they threaten his life, and so they are recalcitrant, and God is dealing with these recalcitrant people. This is a punishment in a way, a wiping out of those people who dared to disobey God's revelation. We have no reason for thinking, therefore, that God would, there's no reason for him to destroy people on the other side of the world. And so it's more likely that the flood was of a local sort that destroyed the people who specifically disobeyed Noah's call.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Muslims should watch this movie?
I wouldn't say yea or nay in a general way. Some people go to movies generally, and if they do, then one might ask, well, why not this one? I know it has been banned in some Muslim countries, but that's a separate discussion altogether, whether or not they should do this. But let's say in our Canadian context, people go and watch all kinds of movies, well then one might ask, why not this one? But if one has already drawn the lines and one says, well, okay, I only watch movies which are absolutely clean, which is a very difficult line to draw, then one might say, okay, I'm not going to watch this one because I have no need to, and it might be an incorrect depiction of our great prophet Noah. I realize that not only Muslims but some Christians,
yes, some Christians are objecting to it.
Are also objecting to it because it is a distortion of some of the scriptural details about Noah. Often, too, the actors who are already quite habituated to performing all kinds of different acts on the screen would have sometimes no compunction when it comes to depicting a great prophet as well. And so we might find depictions of some bedroom scenes, for example, which for many believers would be going too far in depicting some of the great prophets. Indeed, the prophets were human beings, and we do find in Islamic literature details about some intimate acts of the great prophets, even about our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And many Muslims would be surprised to see that this is there, because Muslim societies have evolved to the point of considering it almost like taboo to show affection out in the public and so on, and to talk about bedroom matters. But in a time when there were no visual effects, the literature was all that people worked with, and the literature do go into detail about prophets going to their wives at night and so on. But now to show that in a movie, given the modern sensibility of Christians and Muslims, would be going too far, and sometimes this is often done in the movies.
Will you be watching the movie?
I don't know yet. As a matter of interest, I may, for the need to comment on it, as questions definitely will be raised about it. But I think it is more important, rather than to watch this movie out of curiosity, to let our curiosity guide us back to the scriptures. Let us go back to the Quran. Let us go back to the Bible. Let's find out, what do these sacred scriptures say about the great prophet Noah? What is it about Noah that made him so popular that people want to now make a movie about him? It's not the movie should catch our interest, but the scriptures, which form the foundation for the story of Noah.
So the movie should spark our interest in the scriptures then.
Exactly.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for that, Dr. Shabir Ally.
You're welcome.
We'll take a break, and when we return, green burials.